What's going on, guys? This is MCS Red. Today I got a video for you on the disassembly and the maintenance of the MKII Mark II shotguns. It's a pretty simple disassembly. There's a couple little tedious parts that I'm going to highlight here, but overall very easy to take down. If you're familiar with real steel shotguns like the 870 Mossberg 500, this is going to be pretty similar to you. If not, then it's probably obviously not going to be very similar to you. Overall, let's get right into it. Let's start right now. Okay, so we're actually going to use the Enforcer version or the police version. This is like your standard 870. This is just, in my opinion, a better video or a better one to show you. The disassembly is going to be the same for all three versions that we carry. If you do happen to get the other versions that APS offers, you can go ahead and it's going to be the same exact thing no matter what. So what we'll want to do first is we're going to remove our tube cap with our magazine spring, which is basically our tube spring. And these will accept 870 spec accessories, so pumps, tube extensions, miscellaneous other things. So as you're going to see here, you're going to see the spring, and then you have our follower there. Sometimes a follower may not be attached to the spring, but it is in there, so if you turn the shotgun over, it will come out. From this point, you can remove your barrel. It just pulls right out. Then you have left is your tube and your pump handguard here. So pretty simple from here. You're going to see two pins in this area here. These are able to be tapped out from either side. So I'm going to take two, just tap these out. I just want to be careful here. There we go. There's one pin and two pin. All right, so pretty simple from there. This is where it gets really familiar. If you are familiar with the real steel 870 or Mossberg 500, you're going to be very familiar with this trigger pack here. There you go. There is the entire trigger mechanism. Not much maintenance you have to do here. You just want to make sure it's nice and clean. In order for you to know that it works and to be 100%, you can see that the trigger locks here, and then if you want to press the trigger to release, this is your firing hammer right here. So I would not do this without, putting your finger here. Don't just dry fire it, because that may damage and affect the tension of the spring. But other than that, this is pretty simple. You can see it's a little bit dirty. So what you can do is you can just kind of clean this up a little bit, and then you can apply some oil on the hinge pin, and as well as the spring and the firing mechanism. So we'll set that aside. So what we have left is our valve. This is basically the brainchild of this entire mechanism, and then of course your pump. There are 4 screws right here that are very, very tedious to get out. So what you'll need is that 2mm Allen I was telling you about, and we'll go ahead and we'll loosen these up, and I'll show you exactly how these work. Oops, that's the wrong one. There we go. How these work. So because of the angle and the pump handguard being right there, it is a little odd to get into, but you just have to be very patient here. So let me get these out, and then we'll be right back. Okay, so once you have the 4 screws out, and those are those baby screws I was telling you about, those are located on this is what holds the pump and the loading tube into place. So once you have that, you're going to see down in here a silver tab with 2 Phillips head screwdrivers on it. Phillips head screws on, I'm sorry. So what you're going to need is a Phillips screwdriver, and you're going to remove those screws. Those are super, super simple. Not going to give you any problems. They are very small, so you want to make sure that you are doing this on in a controlled environment, so you don't lose any of this stuff. So if you do, you're not going to be very happy. So put these screws right here. It's always good to have a magnet handy if you can. This Phillips head is a little magnetized, which is nice. You just take your flathead, or your Phillips, I'm sorry, and you just remove this tab. I'm going to show you what that looks like right here. This is basically the slide lock and the cover. This will not allow the unit to come out from the front, so we're going to show you that here. So as you can see, it's a little stiff, so you can just back that right off. Then you have these bars in here, and we'll get to those in a second. So all you have left is basically this empty vessel here, and this is where all your components are housed and etc. You can see that it's very greasy in here, so you'll want to maintain that grease and make sure that all of the components of this system maintained very lubricated, because this part in here is where all your slide action comes from. So you want to make sure that you keep this very, very lubricated as much as possible. So this is where the grease is going to come in, and all you have to do is just kind of look where the grease is at in here, and then just apply more on the top of it. Don't overdo it. I mean, you can be a little liberal with it, but you don't need to go nuts. So go ahead here and put this bar to the side. Okay, so what we have here is our valve cylinder and our pump and arms, and then obviously our magazine cap. Don't need to do anything there. It's pretty simple. This is the brainchild of this entire system. So what I like to do is just wipe it off. If you're not having any leaks or any issues like that, there's not really much you need to do. You can apply a little bit of oil to both sides just because it's CO2. You definitely can do that. That's not a it's not a big deal. Just a couple drops here and there. This is your firing pin towards the rear. This part right here that sticks out, so this will release CO2. If you're doing maintenance, it doesn't matter if this is full or if it's empty. Nothing's going to happen. Just don't depress. It's actually going to be very hard to depress this with your finger, but you just don't need to do that. If you ever need to get into this valve, there's you're going to need a pair of C-clamp pliers, and there's two holes here. This comes off, and then there's another side here, and this comes off, and all there is just a housing with a spring that goes across. And there's very rarely times that you'll have to go in there, but if you do get yourself a rebuild kit, there's only about 4 pieces in this entire thing that you'd have to replace, which is really great. So we're not going to get into the valve. There's no reason to, but if you do happen to have a leak or anything like that, that's how you would get into it from both sides. It's very simple, very hard to input back incorrectly, which is even nicer. So I just cleaned that up. This is right from the factory, so there's not much we need to do to this unit. So all you're going to have to do is reverse the steps that we took the unit down from. We'll do that right now just to show you really quickly, and let's get right into it. See, the valve chamber is going to rest on top of this like this. So you can see there's little grooves in the pump action levers. Kind of just hold it set down right into place, and then from here you can see you're just going to take it and go right into the unit. Okay, oops. So with these two arms, you want to make sure that the unit magazine cover does not, it needs to go inside of there, and I'm going to show you that right here. So this is probably the most tedious part that I've seen with the shotgun. It does take a little finesse to do. Okay, so I was able to get that in. As you can see here, those bars are not like in here, and what happens is there's an area back here that's actually holding them down, and they bend inward into this breech here. These are actually what catch the shell and then transfer it into the breech. So as you can see, you want, before you put your magazine cover back on where those 4 screws were, you want to get the teeth, and you'll see the teeth on the ends. They go inside the body, and that magazine shell cap actually holds it into place. So there's nothing in here, none of those are back in place. So that's a successful install. It's flush. So what we can do is we can take our silver cap here, we'll put that back into place, and that goes right into its groove. It's pretty much foolproof, can't really go wrong with that. It won't go in if you're putting it in correctly, so just keep that in mind. Press that down, take our 2 Phillips head screws again, go ahead and put those in now. And what this does, it doesn't allow the valve to move forward and be removed. So if you are trying to get it out and you're not able to get it out, it's probably because you still have this piece still in here. So make sure that you remove that. Pretty simple from there. From here, you can go ahead and move that forward now and put your 4 screws back into their designated area. So we're gonna put those in right now, and then we'll be right back with you again. All right, so we got our 4 screws back in. I know you guys didn't wanna watch me do that, so we'll go ahead, and what we'll need to do now is we make sure that the pump is in the forward position. We can put our trigger pack back in, and this is really easy to put back in. You can just basically finagle it exactly how it's gonna go in, and now that I have it, you can take your pins, remember these can go in from either side, and once you get one in, you kind of see the holes from the other side. So if you don't see them line up, what you can do, because these actually go through those linkage arms I was telling you about, you can take your Allen key, set those through, and then have that pin go in from one side, kind of just tap it into place. There we go. So there's one. And then once you have one, pretty much all line up from that point. If they don't, like I said, just take your Allen key, open up that space. There we go. And then tap that in. Make sure they're nice and flush on both sides. Don't put one side out farther than the other. If it is, just go to the other side, tap it in, and there you have it. So all that's left is our barrel. Just goes right over the top, and there are grooves for this barrel. So like I said, it's kind of hard to install that incorrectly. You can make sure that the pump is in the rear position. Just go ahead and put this on. There we go. Goes right in there just like that. Take our magazine tube and follower. And that's the last simple part. Just push that through. Take our cap and tighten this bad boy down. And there we have it. That's it. From here, all of our components are working just as they need to be. And that's pretty much it. It's pretty simple to get into, really simple to maintain. Service is really not many times you need to get down to this thing. I would expect probably, depending on how much you use it, to break it down and just apply some grease and some oil into the valve area, but you can actually just add it from outside of the launcher. So if I rack it back, I have access into that breech. I can apply the grease and everything inside there, and then I can also apply a drop of oil on the front here where the CO2 actually propels out into the shell and then propels your projectile. And then I would apply just a couple drops of oil to your fill valve there. And that's it. Overall, very, very happy with how APS did the redesign. The Mark II shotguns are a great product to have, great sidearm to have when you're on the field. You can rock it as a scabarb. And that's about it. If you guys have any questions or concerns, you guys know where to find us. This product is available on the mcsus.com website. Hope to see you guys out on the field.